watching TVC Breakfast, and it's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspaper. But before then, Ibrahim, I want to thank you so much for standing in for me. The traffic situation in Lagos this morning, it's quite a really tough one, I must say. 6 o'clock or 6 a.m. The curfew ends, and so the rush, everybody wants to move out of Lagos, move to their jobs and everything. And we found ourselves.
I really can understand because many times, even when I come into the office, I normally meet you on your seat preparing for the show. So it's quite, surprising when I was called, because I was even dozing off when I was called that, okay, I have to stand in for Veronica, to come into the show. It's good to have you back.
But
and
that's
that is just
happens.
The reality we are also being faced with.
Absolutely.
The coronavirus pandemic is not going to leave us just to have a fresh breath, but then definitely we'll get out of it by God's grace.
Definitely. Thank you, Ibrahim, once again.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
All right, joining us now via Skype is in-house analyst Obaniyi Akinwale. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning. Welcome to the new reality.
Okay, now we head straight to the papers, and I begin with the leadership. Federal government okays 3 indigenous COVID-19 drug for clinical review, lists conditions for reopening schools, considers sectionalizing it. And then we move to the front page of the News Direct. COVID-19, PTF seeks approval for 3 indigenous herbal drugs. NCDC confirms 389 cases, highest daily figure ever. And then we move to the front page of the Daily Times. We have not announced dates for reopening of schools, federal government. And to the front page of the National Economy, new wave of bank mergers, acquisition, likely fallout of COVID-19. And on the front page of the Blueprint, PTF on COVID-19, federal government considering 3 local herbs as possible cure. And to the Daily Trust now, Edo APC governorship, Oshomole Obaseki head for final showdown. Izeyamo emerges factional consensus candidates. Candidates cannot emerge in Abuja. Obaseki. Repeat of Zamfara Rivers cases imminent. All right, Obaniyi, I'd like for us to quickly look at the story on the front page of the News Direct, which is almost on the front page of all the papers this morning, talking about the Presidential Task Force saying that the government is seeking approval for 3 indigenous herbal drugs. We've been talking about finding local solutions, and it seems we are on our way to achieving that. What do you make of this?
I think it's a right move in the right direction. My only fear is that I am not sure the level of confidence being assumed by the PTF. I am not too sure of how confident in us saying great good people, great nation, find Nigeria, using Nigeria and doing Nigeria. I'm expecting more from them, because if you look at what the Dr. Fossey United States and the NIH is doing in the United States, they are doing clinical trials and they are giving us what is happening. So I'm beginning to wonder what process are they passing through United States that is not applicable here in Nigeria, and why is it that after almost about 3 weeks of what was there about the COVID organic from Madagascar is just tested. We keep on hearing the same thing for the past 21 days that they are trying to evaluate about 19 vaccines. We keep hearing everything that they are testing 3 drugs in Nigeria. I was wondering how long it takes us to do this. We keep hearing situation whereby the Nigerian science and technology trying to see whether some of the innovations in terms of ventilators and what have you over this period is workable. We come vividly that a couple of days ago, there was a breakthrough in terms of the reagent. As a group of Nigerians were able to come up with something close to a testing. We're not hearing something about that. But I know in other clients, if there is breakthrough like this, they fast track the test. And you could even remember the WHO once says it that they are trying to ensure that all drug is brought for trials. The modern United States has come up with a vaccine. The Chinese government said they have come up with drugs, and it's not taking ages for them to ensure that they get all these tests. So PTDF needs to aspire stories and want to be hearing about the clinical trials, cases, drugs. That's really powerful.
This pulls through. The next question will be if we have the capacity to commercialize this, looking at the fact that this is not the first time that Nigeria has come up with some sort of local solutions, like during the Ebola and some other time before then. But the fact that we couldn't get the capacity to commercialize it, produce it, mass produce it, so such that the public can benefit from it was a major challenge.
I think that should not be a problem. Where there is will, there is way, so to say. If we imagine the United States of America asking motor manufacturing companies to quickly close their factory in manufacturing automobiles for trying to manufacture the ventilators in thousands. And a country like Nigeria, where we have a population of about 200 million, it's already a market in itself. Looking at the testing capacity in Lagos and the number of infections in Lagos, we've had over 8,000 reported cases, and about 2,000 are already discharged, over 200 discharged. So I think Nigeria itself is a market. And luckily for us, we have a lot of companies. Volkswagen is trying to set up their factory again in Nigeria. Japan is trying to come up again. And we have our own industry who has the capacity to assemble and to produce auto cars. So I believe as a country, we have the capacity. And in terms of market, the Nigerian market is enough for the production. So I'm not sure what else we need in terms of commercializing it. If it's still like Lagos, who have a population of 20 million, and at the moment we're unable to test as much as about 100,000 or thereabouts. So there is no doubt about it that there is market in Nigeria. And in terms of capacity of mass production, we have capacity as there are industries and personnel that are able to do that. Some of these products are made by local people. So it is just for you to roll out the processes, the procedures, and ensure that the manufacturing process is tapped into. So for me, I believe we can. We have the capacity technically, we have the capacity resource-wise, and we have the human capacity to drive this process.
All right, Obaniyi Akinwale, thank you for speaking with us. It's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. Joining me via Skype is in-house analyst Obaniyi Akinwale. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
All right, we head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the leadership. Federal government okays 3 indigenous COVID-19 drug for clinical review. And then we move to the front page of the News Direct. COVID-19, PTF seeks approval for 3 indigenous herbal drugs. NCDC confirms 389 cases, highest daily figure ever. WHO can't dictate to us. On COVID-19, federal government, 87 patients recover in Lagos. And then we move to the Daily Times. We have not announced date of for reopening of schools. Federal government conditions for reopening of schools considers sectionalizing classes, urges states private school owners to plan ahead on how to ensure safety of students. We'll be looking at that story shortly. And then we move to the front page of the national economy. New wave of bank mergers, acquisition, likely fallout of COVID-19. And then we move to the front page of the blueprint now. PTF on COVID-19, federal government considering 3 local herbs as a possible cure. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, Edo APC governorship, Oshomole Obaseki head for final showdown. Ize Iyamo emerges factional consensus candidate. Candidate cannot emerge in Abuja. Obaseki repeat of Zamfara Rivers cases imminent. All right, let's head straight to the front page of the Daily Times now. We've not announced date for reopening of schools, but there are measures being put in place for schools to reopen. Talking about conditions for reopening of schools, considering sectionalizing schools. Let me ask you, Obaniyi, what do you make of this? Looking at the government is looking at morning and afternoon classes to enable students catch up, especially on lost grounds. How does this come to you?
It's a welcome development, just like every pandemic that we've had across the globe. Malaria is here to stay, flu is here to stay, HIV is being treated, and Ebola was sometimes in Africa ravaging Congo, Sierra Leone, partly in Nigeria. Now COVID is here, and the reality is that we have to live with it. And the question now is, how do we ensure that this hotel or is managed in such a way that we don't have mortality? But it's a welcome development. I would tell you that it's been very, very difficult taking small ones through every online platform. Call it Zoom, call it WhatsApp. I would tell you as a parent, teachers are doing a wonderful and great job. And there is no better time than now for the schools to be open, but putting in place.
Well, the country is looking at reopening schools. The schools have been closed for over 2 months now, and a lot of persons have been calling for schools to be reopened. We see in other countries, China, Taiwan, schools reopening and measures being put in place by these countries to ensure safety of the students. And a lot of persons are wondering if this measures being put in place by the government will keep their children safe. And some parents, Obaniyi, are saying no matter what, I am not confident that I will send my children to school at this point. If I may ask you directly, if schools are open today, would you send your kids to school?
As a parent, yes, there is apprehension. Everybody is scared, we're afraid, and there is need for us to be cautious about the younger ones. Am I afraid to send my kids to school? I will say it is neither here nor there. I won't tell you affirmative that the first or 2 weeks of resumption, I will want them to go and expose themselves, because you wouldn't know where other kids are coming from. You wouldn't know what they have been exposed to. So I want to take caution as a parent as well to ensure that we know the protocols put in place and look at what is the cost benefit and look at the risk value. Yes, I am excited that the school is coming back, but I will be more excited if I see that policies like, for example, countries like South Korea, they put disinfectants, contaminate pupils to ensure that they don't have them touching their faces, ensure that their school bags and what have you, the food and what have you. But you can't take it away from the kids, even from the adults, from hugging each other, touching each other, sweating and what have you. Am I scared? Not really. But am I apprehensive of what happens when these kids go back to school? As a parent, yes, I am, because as a responsible parent, their security and their welfare is a priority.
Would you want to see the government put in place that could perhaps ensure the safety of children when they return to school? We see other countries, like you rightly mentioned, have reopened schools and put some certain measures in place. Do we have that kind of capacity? What can we learn?
If our Minister for Humanitarian Affairs can tell us that the schools, they are doing school feeding while people are at home, I think that more effort should, instead of us wasting those resources on the schools, the kids that we cannot trace, I think it's high time they look at the data from every Ministry of Education, every tax collecting agency, because school proprietors, public and private school, have their register, they pay taxes, they know the number of people enrolled in each school, and ensure that we use all these funds to ensure that the lives of these kids are not put to risk. And I believe if the government want to do it, government will do. But is our government ready? I would rather say that the PTF is doing a wonderful job, but they should save us some rhetorics and let us see actions. Schools are coming on board. What are the measures put in place? And if you ask me, as a country, do we have the discipline to ensure that we do not put these people at risk? I would say I cannot say that in affirmation, because when the banks are asked to do social distancing, hotels should not open, people should maintain distance, people should use face masks, you will see that a whole lot of Nigerians are still violating these basic COVID mask up codes and what have you. So for pupil, if adults are not listening, if state governors are not obeying the federal government orders, if state governments like Cross River and Kogi are restricting the movement of NCDC people to test their state, and they are doubting the veracity of the claim, you could see the claim from the Cross River state governor. So the question now is this: how do you contain the teachers, the pupils when they come in? I just wish our government will match their word by action. If government can ensure they match their word by action, I believe the schools will be safe, the businesses will be safe, and everybody will go up with their normal life as we live with this pandemic.
Lagos State, for instance, now is hiring about 2,000 more teachers to strengthen capacity of schools post-COVID-19 and perhaps when schools resume. I wonder if this is an initiative, what this would change moving forward from what you see.
Yeah, you as well. So, Dr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has always been a trailblazer. He's known as the Star Boy too, just like Professor Yemi Osinbajo. And Lagos is always setting the pace as a center of excellence. Adding additional 2,000 teachers will relieve the work because it is going to be more tedious for the teachers, especially for those at the elementary schools, in ensuring that those kids maintain social distances. Otherwise, we will over-labor them, overwhelm them. I think it's a good move in the right direction. Also knowing that the economy is experiencing a lot of hardship, a lot of job loss. So the number of dependencies is increasing. And if you could take 2,000 people off the road and put them job, then what government has just done is just to ensure that they oil the engine of economy because those people will transfer, they will buy, they will sell, and money will come into the circulation. So apart from the fact that it will reduce the labor on the existing crop of teachers we have in nursery, primary, and secondary schools, this will also create jobs for people and will also oil and re-engineer the economy. So for me, it's a good move in the right direction, job creation, and if you have a teacher that is not overwhelmed, then you look at the rate of productivity and efficiency, which I think will greatly increase and will improve in Lagos State.
Yes, that teachers cannot handle this situation alone, especially when schools reopen. What should be the role of parents now, especially with educating and equipping their children to also ensure their safety when they get back to school?
Yeah, I will tell you as a parent that it is more tedious now that the kids are going to go back to school compared to when they are at home. When they are at home, you can manage them, you could lock them up, get them engaged, keep them busy. But in school, there is no way they will not want to relate with their. So the onus is now on parents to ensure that we keep on ringing to the little ones' ear. Good enough, they are all aware of the effect of this pandemic. They've all been at home for almost 2 months. So it's all for us to re-echo the same thing to them and to ensure that we do proper monitoring with the teachers even in school. We need to be visiting them unknowingly or unannounced to ensure that safety precautions are put in place. Then again, not only the parent, government as the parent of all of us needs to ensure that any proprietor, any principal, any head teacher that violate the basic rules of ensuring safety for the pupil, such schools are locked down. And again, one thing I want to say, like the Commissioner for Lagos said that very soon they are considering home management. I think it's important for the Ministry of Health in conjunction with Ministry of Education to educate head teachers and ensure that in all Lagos schools, especially or across the Nigeria, that there are health personnel, paramedicals, full medicals to ensure at least proximity of 5 kilometers to any school. You could have a doctor, you could have a nurse, and like Lagos is decentralizing the testing centers. All states needs to do that to ensure that if there's any trace of this is quickly contained and ensure that this doesn't happen. But as parents, our job is to be guidance, to be counselor for these ones, to keeping them. But more work needs to be done. Marrying your work with parenthood. First, our assignment is parenthood anyway. Then we'll couple it with our work. I think this is another time to test the veracity and the readiness of most parents in terms of safeguarding, providing, and keeping for their works.
Obaniyi Akinwale, thank you for speaking with us.